Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is the 5th Meshtadel Monthly. The Meshtadel was an idea thought up by Solex and his son Soulexboy. I have them both on the show today. I'm really excited for this one. The show wouldn't be here without these guys, so it's really cool to hear a little bit more about how it started, and also just to see the bond between these two is really cool. It's really nice to see father and son have shared interests and be able to work together. I was so impressed with Soulexboy after this conversation. Someone who's keen on learning about all sorts of things, and obviously a deep thinker like his dad. I was so impressed that I reached straight out, and I've actually asked him if he will work for me for Bit by Bit and for the Meshtadel Monthlies. There's a lot going to be coming. I won't divulge exactly what he's going to be doing, but it's good to get these youngsters earning some sats. They are the future, and if we're going to make these Meshtadels work, we have to have this circular economy. So I'm really, really excited to get him on board. If anyone has any questions about the show or they have any ideas for future shows, do let me know. You can get in contact with the details in the show notes. And I also want to say thank you to my sponsors that make this show possible. I'd like to say thank you to Crypto Cloaks, cryptocloaks.com for all your 3D printing needs. They do block mitts, personalized node cases, all types of hardware protection, and pretty much anything you want, really. They've been going for a long time now. They are a Bitcoin only 3D printing shop. I absolutely love the team, and if you haven't checked them out already, you really need to. Next up, I'd like to say thank you to CoinFloor. CoinFloor have been with me from the very beginning. They are a UK only exchange. They only deal with Bitcoin, no shitcoins. They do proof of reserve, and I believe they were the first people to ever do this. They've been doing it for a very long time. They've got a great reputation in the space, and if you are looking to buy weekly or monthly, you can do that with the code in the show notes, and you will get a 30% discount off your fees. I really hope you enjoy the show, and like I said, reach out if you have any questions. Welcome, Solex and Soulexboy. This is the one I've been waiting for. I'm very, very happy to be speaking to you both. Soulexboy, this is my biggest show. I can feel it already. You're a celebrity in this space.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here too.
Amazing. You know that some of your ideas have sparked real inspiration in the world of Bitcoin, and I've created a show specifically because the ideas you and your dad have come up with I thought were so brilliant. Did you think that this would grow the way it's growing when you were doing your wargaming with your dad?
Not really. It was just a game from the start. I would not think that this would exist in any world scenario.
Obviously, people will know who you are, but for anyone who doesn't, and anyone who hasn't heard of what it is that you've done and what you've created, it'd be really nice if you can tell us a bit about yourself, Soulexboy.
Well, I don't.
Let's start with without. You don't have to dox yourself if you don't want to, but can you tell us how old you are?
Almost 11.
Wow. Okay, almost 11. And what sort of things do you like outside of Bitcoin? What's your favorite things to do?
Favorite thing is science.
Ah, okay. All types of science.
Yes.
And why is that? Why do you love science so much?
Well, I like that it just explains the whole world, and it just feels very fun to me and interesting.
That's really cool. And outside of your science and your other studies, if you do something active, I guess you go outside and play and do all sorts of sports and things, do you?
Well, paddleboarding with Soulexboy here, yes, that I do.
Ah, there he is, Soulexporter. Let's hear from you as well. This is a nice father and son moment. Nice to speak to you again.
Good evening, Max. I'm just here as some emotional support and co-interviewer, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so the paddleboarding, you find places near where you are, or you have to travel far?
No, we have a river here in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and also a lake.
A small lake, yeah. And a bigger lake, but it's a bit farther. It's a bit murky water, but yeah, as long as there's no techno festival going on, then we can
Go paddleboarding.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, Soulexboy, talk to me about the wargaming. You know, this is what this idea has come from. Is this something that you and your dad have done for a long time?
Well, long time. Nah, not really. I would say that it was like a year has passed. Not almost, not even a year has passed since we created the idea of.
Well, actually, it was exactly before the launch of the voice paper because I was on a weekend, and in that weekend that we did the first Mindadel, I did the interview with Dim and I think with Princey in the car I was sitting. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when we were going on those hikes.
Yeah.
Well,
in the afternoon,
walks.
His sister had to sleep, and then Soulexboy and me, we went for a walk.
Yeah.
And like just following whatever path was in front of us. So sometimes we had to track back because we were so deep in a discussion that we ended up in a wild trail and just got half lost.
You got stuck in a state of flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And that was the first time that we did it, actually.
Yeah? Yeah.
And Soulexboy, what is it that you like about the wargaming? Like what was it that made you interested and get lost and get lost in the woods because you were so intrigued by this?
Well, it was actually like the problem solving with all the tactics and strategies in there that Soulexporter would make these different scenarios, and I would really like just solving the problems in those worlds. And besides science, I like history too. So I liked implying all the tactics and strategies from like the Napoleonic Wars, maybe, and all those implementing
Yeah.
all those things from history.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very remarkable. That was really, now that he says it, in the scenario where we had to free Ben Gunn from the Church of Fiat in UK. He had really. That was the first scenario, right? Or which scenario?
Yeah, I think that was the first thing.
Yeah, so that was the first scenario, and then he really came back with how the Allied forces did the landing in Normandy.
Yeah,
or something
the
like
landing
that
in
they used to-
Normandy, they used deception tactics.
Yeah.
So the Germans thought they were gonna land near, I think it was the near Belgium-France border, and they were gonna land at the closest point at the British Channel, but so the Germans put all their forces there.
Yeah.
but the Allies actually were going to land in Normandy because it was lightly defended.
So that he used in his strategies as well. That we would release some signals over Twitter or whatever, that we would meet then somewhere there, and Ben would be then actually being going on a boat on further south, I think it was.
Yeah.
But now he's destroyed the scenario already, so when we have this live, we have to make sure that Ben has a secondary option, right? To another extraction.
So did you save Ben in this scenario? Did it work?
Yeah,
Yes.
it always ends up good, no?
Yeah.
It has to be fun still as well.
Definitely.
But we did some modifications. So Soulexboy also said that he needed then that there would be a boat going to where we
like
leaked the
decoy boat that like the British Coast Guard or not British, the Church of Fiat Coast Guard or the Navy would pursue that boat. But that boat would actually just be like a party boat in disguise. And the real boat would be heading out to meet Ben in French waters.
Yeah. It's
That's
nice
very
that he thinks
clever.
about partying as well.
It's very clever. And so you've spoken to Ben a few times, haven't you, Soulexboy? I met him very recently. I was lucky enough to spend a couple of days with him, and he's a very, very cool guy. When did you first meet him? Or speak to him?
I do not remember. It was I think it was the first EU plebs meeting that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And first impressions, great.
Especially I had to go wash his sister, I think.
Yeah.
I had to be somewhere in the household and left Soulexboy alone.
Mm-hmm.
And he was having apparently a very deep and profound discussion with Ben and somebody else.
You find that with Ben. That happens.
With Ben, it's often that he starts on a rant and then he says, sorry to go off on that, and then you shake awake and say, no, I was just completely intrigued by what you're telling here. He goes deep. He's an OG. He's
Yeah, we were just jamming there. I like him because he goes so deep on this. The one thing that I love most in life is talking. So I talk a lot.
You're on the right show then. Who else do you know in the Bitcoin world, and what is it that you like about it?
Well, other people that I know in the Bitcoin world is like half of the EU plebs group, I would say. Well, the most known to me would be then Gino and Ben, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really like talking to no, I don't really like all like Bitcoin Twitter together, all that, and the whole community. I feel that I like to be in the individuality, in the EU plebs group. There's a small amount of people and you can really go deep in discussions without having too many like voices going on.
You like the real connections. Yeah, that's nice. The smaller communities, you get to really have real discussions and communicate properly. That's why I like doing this show, because I get to speak to people, either one-on-one or a couple of people, and we just get to know each other and talk about whatever we want. And sometimes it's a bit too much on Twitter that, like you said, there's so many voices, and then there's so much being said that nothing really gets said, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does completely.
Actually, Soulexboy has a Twitter address, but I think you made only one tweet ever, I think.
Yeah, and that was just a meme. I don't look at Twitter. I don't do this social media stuff. I'm not very into it, but it's just a lot of people echoing whatever the other people say. A lot of people just commenting on everything. I don't really care about it. I'd rather be here than in Twitter.
I love it. You're definitely ahead of the curve. Then I wish I had the foresight that you have and never bothered with any of it, because you're right. It is most of the time it's a waste of time. Although there are some good things that come from it. I would never have met Chino or your dad or any of the other Bitcoiners probably that I spend a lot of time with if it wasn't for Twitter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is
neither.
definitely some good that comes from it, and I've met some of my best friends through it. So I think it's hard though to switch off from it, and I think maybe with some of the ideas that are happening at the moment and more close small meetups, personal meetups, that can probably replace Twitter
Yeah.
for most people. It's much nicer.
I am, well, Soulexboy has the chance or the luck that I was on Twitter to meet all those people.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
meet those people through you, so
Yeah.
I don't need Twitter for
Yeah.
all of that.
But I have to say as well that I had a period that I was a lot more active, and now I'm again more a passive observer on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to be. A lot of it is repetition, and you're not learning so much. It's definitely the one-on-ones where you learn the most.
Mm-hmm.
I heard from your dad, Soulexboy, that you are getting quite into your OPSEC and that this is important to you. You're thinking about your privacy and your security. Can you tell me about, what are you thinking there? Why is that important for you?
Well, it's very important because so no other like third party attacker can use my information to their own personal gain, can steal my things. It's basically just for your personal protection of everything that you own, everything that you are, because then no one can steal your identity. It's just safer to be that way, and it's really, well, how should I put this? Yeah, it's how should I put this? I don't know. I damn it. I'm in a I'm in a spiral of
Brain spiral.
yes.
We all get them. We all get them. No, I mean, you're right. It's really important, and the fact that you're learning it at the age you are is incredible. I can only imagine what you're going to be like and the abilities that you're going to have as you get older, and you know to know what you know now is really, really impressive. It's very rare. Do you find that when you're spending time with other kids that they're thinking about the same things as you, or that any of them are interested in their OPSEC or interested in Bitcoin or wargaming, or is it not the norm?
Well, some in my class in school are like tech people, internet people, but uh, none of them are interested in Bitcoin. It's mostly just all these social media sites and just having at least like a VPN or something like that, having some
Mm-hmm.
insight, but not really so interested in such deep things.
Hmm. And do you run a VPN yourself?
Yes, I do, actually.
What's your favorite one? Well, you don't have to say again for OPSEC, but you can if you want.
Uh,
You can say it. I don't want to say.
So I don't want
But
to
it's
say it,
good.
don't want to say it.
no, I
Done?
won't say it.
No,
Okay.
no. That's wise. And so you run a VPN. You obviously like computers. Do you play at all with Linux, or do you use Windows, or what sort of stuff do you play around with?
Well, I use Windows, but I love tinkering around with different types of virtual machines. I tried out Windows XP, Windows 2000, different Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Lubuntu, lighter version of it. I like trying out different OSs through such easier ways. and it's very fun. You can just toy around there, see what's new. It's very interesting to see other OSs.
That's cool. The choice that you've gone for is to run Windows and then use virtual machines. What's the thinking there? You just prefer the feel of it?
Well, I just had Windows from the start, so I'm just more used to Windows. So I would rather stick to Windows and try out other OSs, and then maybe later I can change them to something that I picked from my collection.
Yeah. First to get some experience and then.
Yeah,
That's
a
your own.
real interesting one that if I would switch from Windows, I would switch definitely to Ubuntu. That's a real. It's like it actually looks nicer than Windows. It doesn't have all the support, but it's really good. It's I would say it's a better Windows because it's more secure than Windows because less hackers are trying to attack it. It's very open. You can customize it around. You can program in it. It's very nice. If I would be switching from Windows, I would pick Ubuntu. That's real good.
Can you do me a favor, and when you do switch, to send me a message and let me know, because I've just ordered a laptop and Ubuntu is going on that, and it sounds like you're going to be able to help me because I'm a bit of an old man. I don't really know how to use the technology. I'm sure you can help me when we run the same. We can be Ubuntu friends.
Definitely, I would love to help you.
You'll need to. That's for sure. All right, that's cool. So outside of the computers then, when you're thinking about Bitcoin, what are you thinking? Like, what is it that excites you about it? Is it something to do with like history of money that you think is interesting, or is it this idea of freedom that excites you? Like, is there or is it literally the tech side where you like to dig in and play and work this stuff out?
I would say all of them.
All of them. A proper Bitcoiner. I like it. And so was it difficult for you to learn, or was it easier because maybe your dad always talks about it and won't be quiet like all of us?
It was easier, yeah. The only hard thing is remembering.
So much information out there.
Yeah, it just blows out of the head.
But I help you with the technical side of it. So
do you guys sit down together and like work on technical projects together then?
not at the moment. His note especially we did together. He put together his the physical part of his note, right? And then did most of the managing on his note.
Yeah, you're basically the custodian now.
Yeah, custodian of note.
You're having to put some trust there.
Yeah.
But that's no problem,
well,
I think.
I think that's okay.
From a father's view, I would say he's especially was dragged in via the history of money and the philosophical aspects of that. And technicalities are way behind on that level, which is not really needed at this moment either, I think. Especially the philosophy and the history of money. Because I remember when I was talking to my father-in-law, his grandfather, I was talking about inflation and how fiat money is getting worthless. And what did you say at that moment? Remember that?
Well, I don't remember it explicitly, but it was something about. I think it was. Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
Richard Nixon, that he put the dollar off the gold standard
in 1971, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that was the year 1971."
And what do you think about that then? When you know what's happened, how does it make you feel?
Happy that I have all this knowledge that I could use in the future.
What do you think about fiat?
Oh, what do I think about fiat? Well,
Because that was the discussion that me and your grandfather had.
well, garbage.
That's very polite. Yeah, it. We think the same. That's why we're so interested. But like, is it something that you think will stay around, this garbage, or do you think that Bitcoin is going to become bigger and that people of your age group are just going to accept that this is the better money, or like what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, someday I think that's gonna happen, but I don't think fiat's gonna completely disappear. But one day I think Bitcoin will definitely take over.
When fiat doesn't disappear, but Bitcoin takes over, that means that you mean that Bitcoin would have a bigger, let's say, market share.
Yeah, then fiat. That some people would still like to use fiat,
Yeah.
and they can use fiat if they want to. So yeah, that would be kind of a little minority that likes to trade in fiat, and then the majority of the world would use Bitcoin.
So maybe it becomes then the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, and the common name will be called government coin, another shit coin on the list.
CBDCB. Yeah. Well, so you think that it's going to stay around, but most people won't, and that most people will just use Bitcoin, and that will just be. It won't. Do you think then it won't even be something people really think about anymore? It's just like that's what everyone does because why wouldn't you, kind of thing.
I wouldn't know how to answer on that. I can't tell the futures, and I don't think I really have an opinion about it.
Good answer. It's difficult. None of us know, obviously, but sometimes, like, I certainly like to think about it. I like to just sit and think, like, what is the world going to look like? I like to dream about how things could possibly be, and obviously it's all guesswork, but my visions that I have of the future are very, very bright and exciting. When I spend time around Bitcoiners and I see the amazing things that are being created, and also meeting the people like your dad that I get to meet, and hearing the ideas he has, and getting to collaborate with people like that, it makes me excited. Do you have a bright future in mind? Do you think that the world's going to get better?
Well, in some aspects, yes, but it's probably gonna be some sort of war thing going on. I guess it's not gonna be all. It's not all gonna be sunshine and rainbows in the world. There's probably gonna be something bad in the future, but good things, like really good things, will probably happen.
Yeah, today we were talking about that fiat. How did you say it again? The government won't let you destroy their being without them interfering. On the paddleboard, we were talking about that discussion. Well, first of all, Max, it sounds like you also need a Mindettel session to to think about the future and possible outcomes. But no, we were on the paddleboard again. We were talking about some ideas Soulexboy had, and he always refers to too violent things, in my opinion. Designing things that are interesting but too violent.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah,
I told you that it's modular. You can put other stuff on it.
yeah, I like that element about it. But
This is a weapon, or
yeah.
Can we talk about it, or is it secret?
Yes. No, it's not secret. No. So my idea. So I saw people planting trees with such drones, and that we can also do. We can plant trees.
You didn't explain what
Yeah, the dangerous, the violent thing about it,
It starts from the start.
starts from the
What do you want to build?
a drone,
Yes, voilà.
a drone that has a gun on it, and I already made a design in my head.
Okay. So you have a drone, it has a gun, and then what? You can control that from a phone or a laptop or something like that?
Yeah, and you can take off the gun and put other things on it, such as like an arm, a remote control arm to take boxes, or perhaps a tree planter, or
Ah,
a water can to water the field, or things like that
okay.
that can be controlled by the mechanism that can also fire a gun.
So it's like a multi-tool.
Yes.
You can do lots of things, and it has different attachments. Well, I guess that would be very useful, maybe for your home, and you could get it to do all sorts of things, but also protect. There's lots of times where I don't want to go down and get my post or go and get the milk. It'd be quite nice to go and send it to do
Yeah.
that, but also to protect. That's a pretty cool idea. Is that something that you like doing, to design and build stuff?
Yeah, well, I didn't build it yet because I don't have anything to build it with. Well, I do have tools, but I don't have anything. Well, all I have is Lego, so I can try to make something out of Lego.
You can build anything out of Lego. I'm sure you
Yes.
could build one of these.
Well, the Lego motors are probably not strong enough to lift that up now.
I like the modular idea. I think that's very cool. And it seems like drones are going to be used more and more in all aspects of life. I don't think that's a technology that's going anywhere. What other things are you seeing that you think are cool? Are there any other technologies where you're getting excited about them?
Rockets, rocket
Rockets
ships. Yeah,
to the
I
moon.
yeah I like watching NASA and SpaceX, like following their things.
Hmm.
It's very interesting, and actually, this kind of not really personal, I would say, but one time I wanted to pursue in a career of that, to
Hmm.
maybe go to SpaceX or something like that, and one
Oh,
day
wow.
build a rocket.
That's amazing. That would be so cool. Yeah, you would be doing some things that almost nobody gets to do. That would be the dream, would it? To
Yeah,
build rockets and work for something like SpaceX or NASA?
yes, definitely.
That is
That's
very, very cool.
it's very ambitious, but that is the thing that I want to do in the future. If
We
if
like
if
ambition
that's
here.
if that still exists, if NASA and SpaceX still exist, then yeah, then yes, that is the career that I would like to pursue.
Or maybe then Blockstream, no? They have already a satellite in space. So.
That's true.
Yeah, I could build satellite. Well, no, I could build rockets to launch their satellites.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe if SpaceX isn't around, it will be Soulexboy X. That can be the one.
No, Solex. It will be called Solex.
Solex. Yeah, I like it.
Because like soul, like in Soulexboy, but also soul as in sun, and soul coin,
Ah,
the thing.
yeah.
So it would be soul and then X. So it means Soulexboy, but also
Without you, then Soulexboy. Yeah. Nice.
I like that. Do you have any thoughts on solar and that kind of thing? Like, what do you think about solar
Solar energy.
solar
energy?
energy. Well, I think it's very good for the environment. Well, it's not. Well, when it makes power, it's good for the environment. But when it's broken, then you have to throw it away somewhere, and they're not very easily recyclable. So I would say nuclear power would be better than solar power, because nuclear waste you can store deep underground. Well, that will also kind of pollute the environment, but it's kind of better than throwing a bunch of metal and chemical garbage on the surface.
Maybe we could send it out on rockets. You could build the rockets and we could send out all of the waste somewhere else.
Yeah, but that could also pile up in orbit, and it could be like Wall-E, the movie Wall-E. Well, the whole planet is encompassed by garbage. On the planet,
the
there's
robot,
garbage.
isn't it, Wall-E?
Yeah.
Also,
That's very true.
you have a dirty bomb instantly if you have a rocket with nuclear
Waste.
in. If
Yeah.
that goes wrong.
Maybe I hadn't thought that one through.
Well, they're actually looking into different nuclear sources as well, where then depleted uranium is still a valuable source as a resource because it's depleted uranium is still highly energetic and just not stable enough or something. I don't know to be used still. So I think also with the evolution and the fast development that humans are making, that they will find ways to even reuse that energy, especially because Bitcoin makes energy valuable, so expensive, so putting away
So you're thinking
energy.
mining.
I think all untapped resources become more interesting to be explored and to explore technologies within.
Yeah, so with the energy thing, I think nuclear energy would be the way to go instead of solar, because that creates a lot of waste then. Wind makes less waste, but it's not really efficient because wind doesn't blow all the time, and you still have the broken generators that you have to throw away somewhere, just like the solar panels. So nuclear is probably the way to go.
Solar, on the other hand, can be interesting for decentralization of energy. Like the solar on itself, the problem with solar is that it's over subsidized. So you have those huge solar parks that take up a big chunk of nature or grassland, and they put a fence around it. So that's already terrible for biodiversity, in my personal opinion. But a solar panel on a house, on a roof where nothing is otherwise, on top of a parking garage, wherever like that.
I just came up with an engineering idea. What if you would send a giant rocket-sized battery into space with solar arrays attached to it? It will fly into orbit, solar arrays deploy, the battery will charge, and once it's at least 100%, it'll use the remaining jets of CO2 to move itself to maybe like a rocket that will go there to dock with it and take it back to Earth.
You spent a lot of energy to put a heavy object into space and then back down again. I think with that rocket fuel you might power just as much generators as the electricity that you gain on a battery like that.
Or if you invent some sort of thing to beam it down.
There is actually an idea of putting a solar array in space that generates then electricity in a laser, where that the laser or laser-like beam is being sent then down as a highly concentrated energy source.
Really? You can send energy. You can send power.
There were not yet, but there were designs like that, or ideas like that.
Crazy. That would be so cool.
I'm gonna look it up again. Maybe I dreamt it up, but I think there was something like that that I saw in it. No wonder where he gets his interest from.
So do you two spend a lot of time researching and doing this kind of stuff? Did you both always do this together, or is it like a recent thing? Obviously, like age-wise.
Yeah, I just do it alone. I just research around, watch on YouTube, look up on on Firefox and Google. Just look
well,
it up.
You
What-
call it researching, we call it procrastinating, actually.
Really? I don't call it that.
Really?
No, it's not that we're doing research, it's just we're interested. It's like people watch TV, then it might be more interesting to look at an article or a YouTube video or whatever.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
especially Soulexboy has that. When he's bored, he takes
His tablet
and starts
and
looking
just
at videos.
watches history videos, science videos, all these educational thing, and then maybe like from time to time maybe watch a cartoon or two, but yeah, mostly those science things, the Nixon thing, and like surprisingly, the Nixon thing, just so you know, is from a cartoon.
Okay.
From,
Oh, really? Which cartoon?
And it was like
Which cartoon was it?
it was like you would not imagine that it's from that cartoon. The cartoon is called Teen Titans, and bruh, like how could you imagine that a kids, very 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 kids show
Yeah.
would have a highly historical thing in it?
I don't know which one is Teen Titans, so I can't say. But yeah.
Can't say I've watched it recently, but that is good that it's teaching things like that because it's so important. I would say 90% of people who I would meet would not know about any of that. They wouldn't know when it was. They wouldn't know what happened. They still think that we're on a gold standard. They still think there's gold in the vaults. They do not know, but you do. And that's the difference, is you're bothering to learn about this stuff. And that's so cool because then it gets you to create the ideas that you guys are talking about. And like, as soon as I heard about this Meshtadel thing, as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's so cool. Like, that's the dream. That's how this thing has to work. It's not about building big walls and trying to go to war and all this kind of stuff. It's like building these communities and having people collaborate and thinking how to share the load and to work together. And, you know, you're talking about solar earlier and maybe decentralizing power, as in literally electricity, and doing these sort of things. And it makes me excited. Like, the more I think about this idea that you guys have come up with, the more I think this is the way forward. And it's really, really cool. Like, I'm so glad that you guys have done it, and I'm so glad to be doing this show because it helps hopefully push the ideas forward, and we get more and more people involved. And do you ever think, Soulexboy, this is maybe going to change history?
It could, but probably unlikely, I would say.
Well, I think the idea is very meritful, but it are the people that put that really into practice that will make the difference. People like Ben and Adapt Growth, Joel, they are doing what we are dreaming or thinking about. They're the OGs. We're not even I would say we're LARPing, but there's not even live action on our side. So, so we're just roleplay gaming.
For now.
For now.
Yeah. For now. But it takes time and it has to be thought out. And I can feel it growing already. I can feel the connections between Bitcoiners, and I've already experienced Bitcoiners helping each other out and pushing forward together. And there's definitely a camaraderie, and there's definitely a social layer of trust and like a brotherhood that's forming. And that's not something that I've seen before. It definitely feels like something special. And it's not just about Bitcoin, it's about something much bigger, because obviously, you know, Bitcoin is amazing, but there are other tools that we need. And, you know, learning how to grow our own fruit and veg, and learning how to farm, and learning all these different things to do with engineering and everything else that we're going to need is all really, really important. And so everyone has their little different niches and skills, and together we're like one big organism that I feel can really do anything. Like, I really don't think anything is out of the question if we work together.
true. I feel it also in the online space, but in our neighborhood, I did not notice a lot of, they're not very visible here in the neighborhood, and that's what makes it far from our real life situation, I think. And the impact of networking, or the, how to say this, the real life connections are needed to form the impact on the world. The networking is great, and there is a lot of cool stuff happening out there. But if you don't put people together physically, that is where the real difference is going to be made in a mesh Dell situation.
Because it's global as well.
Yeah,
Everyone
no,
all
it's
over.
local, especially. The global is the momentum shifting in history, but your life is taking place very locally. So if there, actually, we were talking about that today still, because Soulexboy is thinking so much about violent offense against armies, for example, which I really try to discourage. A revolution is not something we should wish for.
I didn't talk about the revolution.
No, but you were talking about that state would might attack us because we might have some bitcoins, right?
It was actually because they think that we could be a threat, that we might stage a
Yeah.
revolution.
Yeah, but that's what where I disagreed, is that we're not talking any revolutionary language. We're talking only about working together, making. Well, you're talking about war things, so maybe that's why they would come. But I think no, there, like Soulexboy was saying, there might be war coming, or there might be trouble in the future. It's not only how do you say it, sunshine and rainbows?
Sunshine and rainbows, yeah.
I like that expression. I never heard that before. But there might be some dark clouds ahead, and that has not necessarily to do with Bitcoin versus fiat, but just the fact of hyper inflation that's inevitable, is just on the map
Inevitable.
already. Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Too much sun today. But yeah, I don't see any way out of that already. And if that happens, that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. It's just so many elements are related to the government, and you can say, okay, all governance is bad. We don't need roads. But going from one system to another, where the police, for example, falls away. Yeah, now they're especially harassing people that don't wear masks or anything. But if there's no, how to say that, the threat falls away of being arrested for doing a burglary, for example, then that will be the first fight. It won't be against a government that tries to steal your Bitcoin. It will be just protecting your home from people that think that they have the right on whatever you are protecting. And that does not have to be necessarily sats, or might be just food, because they really need that as well.
Yeah.
And in whatever form that comes, there's a whole spectrum. So it can be the neighbor that is hungry, or that can be the local mob, drug dealers that have already a network. There's already gradation more. It can be the police force that is not being paid anymore. They decide, okay, we form our own militia here. We have to, we protect you, but you need to pay us. That can be a government that says, okay, we're being threatened by self-sovereign individuals. We're going to break down the doors from everybody who has more than 2 square meters to live on. There is such a broad range. Why am I going to this track? I don't remember already.
Well,
I lost my line of thought.
Yeah, no, I get your point. I agree.
Yeah,
That's probably realistically what would happen. And yeah, it's not going to be easy. I don't think it is going to happen fast. I don't think that it is because it's not going to be a night and day switch where it's
yeah,
just hyper Bitcoinization and the governments are defunded. That's not happening anytime soon. They're obviously accelerating towards just complete chaos with the things that they're doing. But
yeah, exactly.
I guess the idea is that we work together to be prepared and be ready
Yeah,
so that what we know is coming, and it will at some point, it's just a matter of time, that we know that we already have these connections, that we've thought about, well, how do we communicate, how do we help each other, and
exactly.
how do we take this Meshtadel theory to the next level,
Yeah,
and how do we make it international, because it's like we've got a load of water between us, you and I, and we can communicate currently, but we can't sit and spend time together. And if I'm growing produce, I can't send it to you, etc. And so it's like it would be nice to have some sort of transportation networks or ways that we can get around the current system, so that we have things that actually work and they're efficient and they're effective.
yes, yes. Yeah, and that also goes further than even being a Bitcoiner or not. And that's what I
Yeah.
was trying to get at, was things happen very locally. So if shit hits the fan, you will see mesh deals being created upon other incentives. And I was talking with Soulexboy about that today as well, that you're actually going to end up with a mesh of mesh tadels, or being in different networks altogether for different reasons. So you have you can be in a Bitcoin network, but at the same time be in your street Adele, I think we called it. And then in the street Adele is just the incentive, the common security that you protect each other. Whereas if you go further out and you need something that you don't directly have in the street, that is just mutual protection, then you use barter. If you go even further than that and you don't have the exact good or service that can be bartered with, then you go to the money, which at that moment would be the most interesting set.
What a world.
Yeah, that's the darker scenarios, but I agree. I think we're building beautiful things, or they're building beautiful things, and we have beautiful thoughts on those. So.
What's your thoughts, Soulexboy, on this 3D printing stuff? Have you given that any thought?
3D printing what?
Stop, Max
Well,
is complaining or asking me already a whole time that I should buy a 3D printer for his drone, for his drone components.
Keep pushing, Soulexboy. Keep pushing. Yeah, I mean, I just wondered what your thoughts are, but it sounds like you already are interested in it.
Yeah. Well, 3D printing is efficient.
But isn't that polluting? It's plastics.
It's true.
You can use,
well.
you can print with resin as well.
That's true.
Yeah, but no, the reason I was asking is because if we're gonna have these transportation networks and we're going to be able to build things, it seems to me like 3D printing is a technology that is going to be very useful for a lot of the things we need to do. So I just wanted your thoughts on it. Really, you think it's going to keep growing? You think it's the future?
Yeah, I do, because I think personally that in the future, if everything will probably be automated in like factories, so it would 3D printers would be used in probably every type of fabrication. They would be making, I don't know, maybe wait. What about a 3D printer for tables? They can make wooden tables with 3D printers. That probably won't work.
Think that you're talking about a CNC machine then.
Oh, yeah, no. not CNC machine.
No,
But-
but they are looking into different 3D printing materials. There is already a concrete 3D printer, I think. They printed the house once.
What about metal?
That would be interesting.
That
would
it
be
heats. It heats the like a metal rod that
Yeah.
comes in,
Yeah,
and then like
the
icing
plastic. Yeah,
just goes with it,
Yeah.
and
Almost
then
like a solder iron or something.
and then there's like jets of, let's say, liquid nitrogen spraying on
To
the
cool
thing,
down.
so it cools down.
Yeah.
Then it does the top layer, turns off liquid nitrogen, next layer.
Make it even cooler. You send up a metal metal printer up in space, which harvests the ore from the meteorites and then
Yes.
prints a new space vessel out in space, so you don't have to send it off
Oh,
in space
that's
anymore.
cool. Yeah. And then you can just
That
share
would not
files.
work. That would not work. That would not work. By the way, if you put in the liquid metal, it will float away.
Yeah, okay.
The liquid metal will float away when you start printing. You need gravity for that.
Okay.
Good point. Good point. But the idea is there, isn't it? Like, if so, for example, I'm over in England, and then Soulexboy, you design something, and you say, this is really cool. I've made this, and I go, oh, I want one of those. Can you send me the file? And then I could then have that printed either with my printer, or maybe there's like a community one, because some of the bigger ones are probably pretty expensive, but you could build much, much quicker and more efficiently if you had these things. Like the idea of 3D printing parts of houses with the concrete ones and all that kind of stuff seems like it would be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I can share my drones to everyone.
Yeah. True. Then you can. That's true. You can actually. You can set up shop in a different continent instead of sending the file. You look for a pleb that you want to work with.
Yes.
And then he's assembling everything for you there,
Yes.
selling them, and you share the profit.
Yeah, I like that. And obviously you sell for sats and you get some more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
This sounds like maybe it's a business. Maybe don't put the gun on it straight away. Let's leave that for a little bit. But,
Yeah, that's what Soulexporter said, that if I would start like a company with that and start making those, that we would sell only the useful and non-violent add-ons along with the drone. And then if someone knows that you have a thingy for it, well, you wouldn't sell it anyway.
No.
You would only
use
it for self-defense or for the defense of the mesh detailer.
Yeah. I'll buy one from you. If you build one, I'll buy one. Just make sure that I can pay you on Lightning, and let's get it happening. I'm pretty sure you've got a business in you by the time you're 12. And you'll be having your own rockets by the time you're 15. That's my feeling.
And my house will be burned by then.
I like it. Soulexboy, it's been amazing to have you on. I really appreciate what you and your dad have done and bringing this idea to life. It's cool to have you both on here together and to hear that you do these projects together and think so deeply about these things. It's really nice to hear, and I'm a big fan of your dad. He's a very special man, and it's nice to see how close the two of you are. It's really cool.
Thank you too for having me on. I really liked it. I loved it, actually. Not liked it, but loved it. It was perfect.
Excellent.
Favorite thing exercised, talking.
Well, you are welcome here anytime you want. This Mesh to Dell Monthly wouldn't be here without you and your dad. So anytime that you have an idea or you want to just come on and chat, you let me know. And if you get this business up and running, you can come back on and we'll tell everyone about it and get you earning some sats, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
Cool. And Solex as well. Thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, always a pleasure speaking to you, mate.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for all the compliments. Although I'm here again frowning to Soulexboy, like I don't know where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no, it's really nice to speak to you again, and I look forward to the next one and to learning about whatever it is going to be learning about next. Have we got any sort of ideas? But maybe before we close out, Solex Boy, is there anything that you'd like to hear on this show? Like, is there anything where you think that would be nice to learn about? Because we've done education, we've talked about permaculture. Obviously, we talk a lot about Bitcoin, but maybe there's something else that you think would be cool to learn a bit more about.
I don't really know.
What is needed in the mesh dell that you didn't, where you would like to have more knowledge?
Science.
Yeah, but which one?
Engineering.
Engineering.
Yes.
Engineering. Okay. Cool.
More specifically, aerospace engineering.
Aerospace engineering.
Aerospace engineering.
Actually, that comes close to something I was thinking about as well, would be like alternate networks, since they were talking now about like the LNTX bot was being, he lost his VSP or something like that for a while. So like alternatives to internet in general. Like somebody like the Blockstream satellite, or somebody who did transactions over Wave, FM radio or something like that. Something like that would be interesting as well.
That would be really good. And I think the aerospace engineering one would be cool. Like, I really would love to see these like man-sized drones be possible, you know, like quadcopters or something like that, and make it easy enough that you can, you know, you can control a drone from your phone. So why can't we do that and just fly our own things? Like, can you make me one of those, Solex Boy? And I will save up my sats and buy one of those, and then I'll come and visit you guys. We'll go paddleboarding together.
Or you know what? I'll make like a class, and then you can make your own at home.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. Really nice to speak to you, and we'll speak soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you for having us here. Bye-bye.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.